What's up, Trainiacs? In today's Triathlon News Day Tuesday, the greatest triathletes of all time from Australia and New Zealand get crowned. Zwift announces probably their biggest update, I'd say, ever. And I make news out of no news. Hello triathletes, thank you for tuning in to today's weekly Triathlon News Day Tuesday, where we go through the results, the news, the happenings in the triathlon world from the previous week. Stick around to the end where everyone's favorite part of Triathlon News Day Tuesday is going to happen, where we tell a story from the Trainiac community. And just know that of all of these bits of news that I'm going to talk about, if there are YouTube videos that you can go and watch associated with them, I will put them in the links in the description below. Let's start off with five-time world champion Craig Alexander, otherwise known as Crowie, getting announced by Ironman as the person who was voted in as the best, greatest, the GOAT triathlete of all time, coming from Australia and New Zealand. On the women's side, four-time world champion Mirinda Carfrae was announced, and I think that this is very significant. When you account for the population size, or really lack thereof, in Australia and New Zealand, I think that that country is probably the best at producing top-tier triathletes. So good on you, Crowie. Good on you, Rinny. Gwen Jorgensen is continuing to prove me wrong, gradually ranking her way up the ladder in the running world. She just won the Stanford 10K Invitational in a time of 31:55, which she describes as not necessarily a very fast time because she was racing for the win and not necessarily a time. Now, even though she describes that as not very fast, it was a PB by a lot. Her previous personal best in a 10K race was 33:38, and it was numbers like that that made me question, if this run at Olympic gold in the marathon was legitimate, considering that Shalane Flanagan's 10K PB time was 30:33, miles apart. However, she's proving me wrong and just gradually getting faster and doing it in a real hurry, in dominating fashion. And frankly, I'm jazzed up about it. I would rather see somebody have a fantastic, good sportsing story than prove some jackass like me right. So keep going, Gwen. It's cool. Zwift released Alpe du Zwift based off of the Alpe d'Huez. This is just over a 12K climb that has an average grade of 8.3%. I did it last week. The video for that will be in the description below and linked right up here. Took me an hour, and people have been madly going to set their Alpe du Zwift times. This is by far the biggest mountain that is in the Zwift world. And it's such a long, grinding task that they actually changed the map on the right-hand side of the screen, I think really just to give you incentive and know that you are making progress, even though it is such a long haul. Every time you go around a hairpin turn, they let you know that you've gone past one more checkpoint, which I don't really see anywhere else in Zwift. It was a lung buster. I hurt for a couple days. In racing, nada. Ironman, nada. ITU, nada. Challenge, Xterra, nada, nada. So I had to go ahead and make up news, and I'm going to do so by previewing a half Ironman Oceanside, which is one of the most popular half Ironmans in all the world. It sells out in a matter of minutes. It's a very hard race to get into because it's the first race on the half Ironman North American circuit. Now let's talk about the course for starters. The swim is a one-loop swim around the Oceanside Harborfront Pier. The bike is a one-loop ride with 2,700 feet of elevation, and there's a brutal kicker just going right up, earning most of that elevation around 2/3 of the way through the bike. The run is a two-loop, basically dead straight, besides a couple of turns to keep people along the harbor front, run out and back. And I think that because the bike is not so challenging that it's going to favor the strong riders, I think that we're going to end up with most of the strong runners being the top contenders in this race. Let's talk about who those top contenders are. In just the top 10 of the men, you've got Lionel Sanders, Jan Frodeno, Tim Reed, Chris Lieferman, Sam Appleton, that is if he's healthy in racing, Joe Gambles, Jesse Thomas, Igor Amarelli, and David McNamee. There are 42 men, and going down the entire list, there's probably another 5 to 10 people that could probably get in the top 5. On the women's side, we have in the top 10 Holly Lawrence, Heather Jackson, Jeannie Seymour, Carrie Lester, Annie Haug, Sarah True, Kelsey Withrow, Jennifer Speldenner, Lisa Roberts, and Jennifer Lenski. There are 23 total women. I wouldn't say that's nearly as deep on the women's side as it is on the men's, but it's still an absolutely fantastic field. My picks, because I think it's going to be such a runner's course, are going to be Jan Frodeno absolutely bashing it out with Lionel Sanders, and that's like a 1A, 1B flip a coin. I really don't know. If I have to pick, because I don't like copping out, I go Jan. Comments below with how much you hate that pick. On the women's side, I think Holly Lawrence and Jeannie Seymour are probably going to be neck and neck. Having done some training and watching Jeannie Seymour down in Clermont, Florida just a few weeks ago and seeing how run fit she is, I want to give the edge to Jeannie. I believe she's won 9 of her last 10 races. She's a stud and pretty good at Jenga, if you ask me. Now, let's get into stories from the Trainiac community. This one's a short one, and it might not be one that you'd think that I'd share here. So let's get into it. Hi, Taren. My name is Vincente. I was once a triathlete, a pretty good one, I like to believe. I had a couple of junior podiums and a top 5 in Portugal. I ran mid 15 minutes for 5K, 34 minutes for 10K, swam nicely in the pack, and biked nicely in the pack as well. I started to compete in athletics at age 6, and I was in triathlons at age 12. Got some country records and a championship, then good performances nationally in steeplechase and cross country. And I had my mind made up to pursue a career in triathlon. It was my biggest passion. Shortly after my 18th birthday though, and just as I finally met standards to attempt international competition, my heart decided that it didn't want to push those threshold efforts anymore and quit on me. Long story short, I was left unable to ever compete or train that hard. I was a lost kid who wanted to be a man, and I was denied the only thing that was driving my life forward. It's been almost 5 years, and it's never really sunk in, and every day I miss those workouts and ice baths and the pain and the rewards of pushing myself daily. After a drug addiction and severe depressive states, I've come back to accept my abilities and be satisfied with nice scenic rides and morning jogs every other day. Still, there isn't one race that I won't follow. My love for the sport never died, and I want to thank you for giving me a way to feel part of this family and this sport. Your insight is great, you debate great topics and won't let me quit. My girlfriend and I finally made a decision to at least finish a triathlon this year. Thank you, Taren, for the closure and motivation and for the rewarding feeling I'll get when I cross that finish line. Sincerely, not a Trainiac anymore, but a fan of your work, Vincente PG Albuquerque. P.S. Let's face it, Gwen does have the guns. I'm finding that out, Vincente. So at first, when I started reading his message, I was like, well, you know, I don't really want to share a story about somebody who is awesome. And then when I got to the end and realized how important a message is, that triathletes have a tendency to think that triathlon is all or nothing. You're either an Ironman or you're out of the sport, or you are performing PBs and constantly getting better, or you're out of the sport, or you're constantly going to the next longest distance, or you're out of the sport and there's no point. But I think Vincente's story of learning that even just being present in the sport and being happy with whatever it is that you can accomplish is really important to hear. And hearing that he was like up here at the pinnacle of the sport and just about to get into the pro ranks, and he went down here and had to learn how to be happy with that is a very cool lesson to learn. So thank you, Vincente, for sharing that. So there you go, triathletes. Thank you for watching this week's Newsday Tuesday. If you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button below to make sure that you don't miss next week's edition and our daily triathlon video awesomery. If you're into triathlon, looking for some resources, go to triathlontaren.com/free resources, where we have almost 9 free downloadable resources to help you with your training. If you are into long-form podcasts, go check out the Triathlon Taren podcast. It's the most reviewed triathlon podcast in the world. Or if you're into like short-form, little under 10-minute, every single weekday podcast, we have the Triathlon Trainee Ask podcast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week, and tomorrow, and the day after. That's more like it. Back to stumbling over my words. Yeah.